Okay, we're back. Thank you for sticking with us. So, if you care about analytics, and I suspect you do, and if you use Google products, which I suspect you do, otherwise, why would you be on this webinar, this summit? Then you probably heard about GA4 and the next in Google's analytics and enterprise platforms. We're going to be spending the next 30 minutes on this topic, and we'd like to welcome from Google measurement lead Isaac Abramowitz, from InfoTrust, Vice President of Client Services, Amin Shaki, and Industry Team Lead, Michelle Pliskin. Isaac, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. Hey, everyone. I'm Isaac Abramowitz. I'm a measurement lead here at Google, and I focus on how our customers can effectively measure their investment with Google to drive their desired business outcomes. I'm extremely excited today to talk to you about Google Analytics. It's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. And our primary goal for today is to give you a better understanding of our new property type in Google Analytics called GA4 properties, so you can get up and running in no time. So today we'll start by setting the landscape of the customer journey and where we're taking the Google Analytics product. Then we'll dive deeper into Google Analytics 4 properties, or I'll oftentimes refer to them as GA4 properties, followed by resources to get you started. So customer journeys are more complex than ever. Besides being multi-device, we now have multi-platforms. So apps, web, interactive TV, even the Google Assistant, which we saw with Lauren in the previous presentation, and multi-format as well: search, display, video, social. And really, essentially, the journey is multi-everything. Before this session, I was actually just thinking about it, about how I use Spotify. I use Spotify on many different platforms, whether it be the Google Assistant or my computer or my mobile device, or even when I'm playing games on my PS5. And really, we see at Google that our customers are demanding more from us than they can do with their current analytics setup. And we find that businesses that continue to improve their measurement perform better over time. BCG states that there's an incremental 16 percentage point of return for businesses who invest in measurement maturity. And also, Bain shows that businesses who do so are 4 times likely to achieve their goals. And with that, we really need to put the users first. User demands are rising more than ever, and they demand more privacy and transparency when it comes to measurement. And there's also regulatory changes in place as well. So when we think about Google Analytics, we're thinking a lot about first-party measurement and what we can do when third-party cookies are no longer around and these journeys are becoming more complex. Next slide. So that's why we're investing heavily in a new property type in Google Analytics, which we're calling Google Analytics 4 properties. It's a best-in-class measurement solution built for the future. I want to go to the 2 slides up. Next slide, please. So how did we get there? Well, Google Analytics has taken a long evolution dating back to 2005 when the product was acquired from Urchin and rebranded to Google Analytics in 2007. 2012 was a big milestone for Google Analytics. There was a large iteration where we launched what we called Universal Analytics. This brought a lot of new features, such as data import, measurement protocol, enhanced e-commerce. In addition, this launch brought Google Analytics to the app measurement space. Then in 2016, we launched Firebase Analytics, which was the next evolution of app measurement and really set the stage for event-based measurement, which we see in Google Analytics 4 properties. So if we fast forward to 2019, that is the launch of Google Analytics 4 properties. Now, GA4 properties is not necessarily the Google Analytics that you're used to from days past. GA4 properties is a new version of Google Analytics that combines the best of both worlds of what we have in Universal Analytics today, and also GA for Firebase for app measurement. It's the next evolution of GA for app and or web measurement. Don't be confused, because this is a product that is really for advertisers that have an app and or a website. And it introduces a lot of new and improved features with many more on the product roadmap. Now, GA4 properties brings 4 key benefits, and that's not a coincidence. It's scalable with your business. You're able to measure all the interactions of your customers, uh, being able to understand exactly how they navigate not only between your app and your web and or your website, but also interactions such as impressions as well. It also introduces responsible, durable measurement. We've really thought through a lot on how we can build a product that's going to be sustainable for you to be able to use in the future. In addition, it also brings intelligent business insights. Me personally, I've been using Google Analytics for a long time. And if you've ever logged in, you've probably noticed that there are a lot of reports. It can sometimes even become overwhelming. And it's sometimes even like trying to find a needle in a haystack to get the insight that you really need. GA4 properties brings those to the forefront. And last but not least, GA4 properties drives business impact. With integrations with Google Ads and also integrations coming to our other GMP products later this year, you'll be able to drive impact to really be able to measure the overall impact of your media. So next I'll pass it off to Michelle, who will give you an overview of GA4 properties.
Cool. Thank you so much, Isaac. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today. So let's talk about some pain points that you might have encountered in Universal Analytics and essentially how GA4 is going to address those. So the first one, basically like what Isaac was saying, you're able to have a unified event data collection model across your apps and your websites. So in the past, you might have had disjointed data sets. So your app was tagged one way, your websites were tagged another way. And when you try to look at your customer's experience holistically, you have to do a lot of connecting the dots. Now with GA4, you're going to be able to have that unified data collection strategy across all of your different experiences. So when you want to look at holistically, how is your customer behaving with your brand, you're able to do that in a much, much easier way. Also, you might have noticed that in order to really build out some data science capabilities, you would need to spend a little extra effort doing more excessive ETL. In order to activate your data and build really smart audiences for targeting. Now in GA4, you're going to have built-in very robust targeting with different integrations, and there are also different predictive analytics capabilities built right in that you can leverage. Finally, in Universal Analytics, maybe it took a little bit of time and manipulation to get different analyses that weren't necessarily in the UI to be able to get your performance monitoring that you wanted. Now in GA4, you're going to have the opportunity to have flexible yet structured reporting. So there are some out-of-the-box reports, but then there's a lot more emphasis on tools such as the Analysis Hub that really allow you to build whatever you want and to get the analysis that you really need based on your specific business goals. So next slide. So another thing that is really cool with GA4 is that we're changing to a user-based data collection approach. So in the Universal Analytics model, you essentially have your sessions that drive conversion being considered higher value, right? So if a user has 3 different sessions, so look at this example where they come to your website via a paid campaign, they set up their account, they go in and they favorite some items, but they don't convert. That session right now does not have any value. Then they come back via email, maybe they browse through some Q&As on different products, they favorite more items, but they don't convert, right? So that's just a second session that from an e-commerce standpoint, it would not have a conversion rate. If you're looking at different monetary targets for your business, right, that would not record any value. Then in the third time they come back to your session, maybe it's via a Google search, they go into their favorites, and then they end up purchasing. That session would be credited all of that value. Now, if we advance one slide, let's look at how GA4 compares to this. So now, rather than having all of your user interactions cut off essentially after each session, you now can see holistically what was your customer's entire journey that led to whatever conversion is applicable for your digital experience. So now that user, you can see how they have value for your company, but then also you can see the different steps in the customer experience that has led to that value. So this is a really, really big shift. And it's very, very exciting because you have the opportunity to truly understand all your different customer touch points, be it across different devices, across different sessions that are ultimately driving value for your business as well as your customer. Next slide. So some different potentially past pain points and some solutions that this GA4 user-based model is going to unlock for you. So in the past, right, transactional sessions, they're king, right? If we think back to that last slide, that third session is the one that has that monetary value. Now in GA4, all engagements matter. Whether or not you converted in session 1 or session 3, you're going to be able to see how each of those really drove impact. Also, right now, calculating lifetime value is a bit manual, right? You have to look at the right data across sessions. It can be a little bit overwhelming. With GA4, there will be predictive lifetime value built right into the UI. So you don't need to do manual data manipulation. You're going to be able to have that at your fingertips. And then finally, this is something that has come up throughout the session, and I'm sure that you think about very regularly. Cleared cookies, they lead to data loss, less insight into your customers, right? Like we really depend on the cookies to understand how our customers behaving across experiences and on your website. Now in GA4, there's something called consent mode. It's in beta right now, but Google's working to provide modeled conversion data to fill this gap that's raised by these privacy changes. So this is a really great way to add that durability into your data, and it's going to be available through the use of GA4. So you're going to see a lot of these successes really pull through in your data. You don't necessarily need a data science team to get really smart, and you can understand your data or your user experience in a more holistic way. Next slide. So with that, I am going to pass it over to Amin.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michelle. And hello, everyone. This is Amin from InfoTrust. What I want to talk about to kind of close out the session today on GA4 are some of the durable features within Google Analytics 4. I'm actually going to build on consent mode that Michelle just touched on, but I want to start with Google Signals first and cross-device measurement that is baked into GA4. For those that know Google Analytics currently, the Universal Analytics property type, Google Signals is available today that you can activate, but it's going to be built into GA4 by default. And essentially what it is, it allows your reporting to be leveraging a lot of the rich Google data for signed-in users on their platform so that you can see things like cross-device behavior, even if consumers coming to your platforms aren't logging into your particular platforms, but they're known by Google through their deterministic model. This is going to be baked into all the reports within GA4, and it's really, really powerful. It's very relevant to some of the information that Lauren earlier mentioned with the Google audiences and how that can power a lot of your analysis and insights. So wanted to really touch on that feature as a durable piece of GA4 and why it's really the future for Google Analytics, and something that we're really excited to have across all the reports versus just a subset of the reports and capabilities with the current version of Google Analytics. But what we're really excited about, next slide, is GA4 consent mode that Michelle teed up for me, and I'm going to go a little bit more in depth about what it is, how it works, and maybe how you can get started. So next slide. Pain point that Michelle mentioned around potentially loss or less insight into your consumers through cleared cookies or non-consenting users, and how GA4 and consent mode can allow you to see more from that gap of those users that might not have consented and that you didn't capture very much or any information about them. I really like the visual here to simplify what it's doing or how consent mode actually works. And I do want to note that it doesn't replace your consent management platform or processes. It augments and supports it specifically for Google Tech and Google tagging, such as GA4. But essentially, when users are coming to your websites, may or may not be consenting, and then you have conversions captured, what consent mode allows you to do is, based on the consent provided by the consumers, by your users, augment how the Google tags actually are deployed so that for those that have consented fully, your tagging works and you can see all the data around those because they've consented to provide that information. But those that declined or don't want their cookies or their information to be used, Google will use their modeling and powerful capabilities to show you some of that information. So instead of a complete gap in your data and your reporting, you'll have some model data to support and further analyze kind of how to improve your performance. So one thing that we've seen with a lot of our customers over the last couple of years when deploying a consent management platform for those non-consenting users is just a big drop in data collection within Google Analytics. This consent mode feature allows you to see some of that information in a privacy-centric way because you're not seeing specifics about individuals that didn't consent, but just modeled behavior. So again, goes back to that saying from the keynote earlier today, performance doesn't have to be at odds with privacy. There are technologies and solutions and ways to look at your data and still make strategic insights with changes coming to the platform, such as GA4 and consent mode. Next slide will show a little bit more laid out how it actually works. So if you're interested in looking more, there's support articles online, and you can reach out to us, of course, to talk through that, or Google. But this is a one-slide summary here that explains kind of what I mentioned there, where when users come to your site, they still have to indicate consent status. This is not a workaround. This does not ignore their consent preferences or anything like that. It uses that to dictate how the Google tags will actually utilize cookies or be deployed. And based on that consent decision, the tags will fire or adjust their behavior so that for those that don't consent or you don't have full visibility, like as if they were consenting, modeling then kicks in and you can still be data-driven with your data. This right now is available with GA4. It's also possible with other Google Tech and tagging. Like I mentioned, it's available today. The beta that is being launched or in process right now is on the modeling side. But essentially, that's how consent mode works today. Next slide. One thing that we wanted to share as well, and this is a little bit of a snuck it in depending on the time there, is just how GA4 is also providing added metrics and capabilities that current versions of Google Analytics and other measurement platforms might not have. But by using GA4, you not only have access to the consent mode modeling, but other type of modeling metrics and predictive metrics baked right into the reporting suite. I wanted to show this here because as we're thinking about what are some durable tactics for measurement and how can we change how we're looking at analysis and such, baked right into the tool are some of these metrics that will be available to you, such as churn probability, probability to convert. A lot of these anomaly detection, such as this report shows, these are useful because before GA4, a lot of this would have to be done with your data science team or outside GA and could be time intensive, as Michelle mentioned. Now it's being more easily accessible, surfaced right in the reporting as you're using GA4 itself. Next slide. So to somewhat summarize the section here, because when we talk about GA4 and all these capabilities and how they can help you be more durable in the future, we often get asked, like, well, how do I start? You know, we've invested so much time and energy and rely on our current reporting and measurement. So what are the steps to actually get up and running and adopt GA4 for your business? We like to break it out in this model here of crawl, walk, run. Essentially, look at what are the things we should be doing now and continue to progress our analytics maturity so that we can make GA4 our single source of truth and leverage all those amazing capabilities. So I'm not going to go in detail through each one of these steps, but this is an outline of if you're thinking or just getting started with GA4, you don't need to completely scrap, and we don't recommend completely eliminating your current measurement solutions, or if you're using the current GA, Universal Analytics. Dual tag, have it side by side your current measurement platform, roll it out iteratively that works for your business. What we recommend is configuring GA4 for a few websites, maybe for your mobile applications, especially if they're using Firebase Analytics, because that powers the GA4 for the mobile app side. Deploy that, test and learn, use consent mode, try the consent mode beta, build out your mapping for your full deployment to understand or collect all the key events and attributes and things that you need and have with your current measurement platform, so that through the remainder of this year and into next year, you have historical data and it can become your single source of truth from an analytics perspective, and to power all of your analysis and audience building capabilities as well. So wanted to at least provide some specific actions that can be taken to adopt GA4 versus just kind of an overview of the features. And next slide, if you're looking for any more resources about what else GA4 can do, how do you get started, how do you both tag but also rebuild reporting and insights, we have a resource hub on our website. I just did a webinar yesterday with a colleague about how to rebuild your reporting and dashboards. All of these are available for you to look and plan accordingly with your business, and always happy to help further. But wanted to touch on those few durable features that we're excited about with GA4 and how to address it, measurement in the future. So with that, I will pass it back to Pat, I believe.
Great. Thanks, Amin. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Isaac. Do you guys have a couple quick questions if you have the appetite for it? So I did want to follow up on one of the comments about data science and not needing data scientists anymore. The next session, we have some data scientists. They're going to be really angry if I don't ask this question. But how do you best orchestrate the data science and ML that comes with GA4 with an existing data science program and some of the resources you have there? Any thoughts on that?
Maybe I should take this first attempt. Just for all the data scientists out there, including at InfoTrust, I am not suggesting GA4 replaces the need for more robust data science and activities there. What I want to touch on is that GA4 allows the entry point for data science capabilities and those advanced metrics to be a lot easier, or lower entry points, if you will. It's a lot easier to get started with some of that advanced analysis, advanced capabilities. However, it's still, GA4 is still a platform built for all. For your specific business and how you want to analyze or drive improvement and build robust targeting strategies, et cetera, there's still a lot of value to take that next step with advanced data science capabilities with your business. I like to look at it in the crawl, walk, run model. GA4 provides you a way to get into some of those advanced capabilities in the crawl stage, where previous technologies, you can only be in the run stage or more advanced to utilize some of those advanced metrics. Now, it's a little bit easier to get started, maybe get buy-in within your organization to then scale and build out a data science function or work with a partner or what have you. So I don't think it replaces it, to be clear. I think it only complements and provides more visibility on the value of driving advanced analytics. Michelle, Isaac, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think if you are also a one-person show and you don't necessarily have all of these resources at your fingertips, to Amin's point, you can still get up and running and then justify the need to do more of that work, right? Because you see success with some of these things that are available in the platform. So it's I really like that terminology of it's a very nice compliment, and a really good just entry point to start getting smarter.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a good segue for our next session, and I think that does get you guys out of the hot water you were in. So good job. Thanks so much. We are going to take about a 10-minute break now, seventh inning stretch. So we'll be back about 1:40, and we're in the home stretch. So stick with us. And thanks again, Michelle, Isaac, and Amin.